Hello, everybody. Welcome to my FUN-dations for College Students podcast. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. We got Michaela back here in the studio. Also in the studio today, I'm joined with my fellow music educator colleague, Collin Cummings.
What's good?
Hey, Collin, how's it going, man? Glad to have you here today. On today's podcast, we're going to be talking about the methods of teaching music to children. And, when it comes to teaching, there's a lot of different methods that the teachers can use in the classroom. So my first question for you here today is, out of the three methods, which one is your favorite? And are you more likely to use more than one at once, or just one?
Absolutely. So this is a very loaded question for me.
Yes.
Because I really think there's valuable things in all three methods of teaching. My mother is ORF certified, so I really like ORF, and I like a lot of things it does. And I like how it has a lot of focus on instruments, and I think that's really important, especially for young musicians. It's going to get them more interested in music, because kids like instruments. They're big, they're exciting, they make lots of noise. But the more and more we do activities in FUN-dations, I am really drawn to movement. And I learned that personally, I'm a very kinesthetic learner. Mm-hmm. And that Delcros really appeals to me because I like to move and feel the music, and embodying the music is what helps me best to learn and achieve musical concepts. But as a singer, I'm also really drawn to Kodai. So yeah. I love movable do and the inner hearing, so you can hear in your ear to build your aural skills. So I think there's benefits in all of them, and as a teacher, I think I'd have to incorporate all three.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Yeah, Dalcroze is probably one of my favorite methods, just because children are naturally musical, so they like to express themselves through music.
Absolutely.
And this method allows them to have creative freedom and stuff.
To me, the methods really associate with Delcroze is really a kinesthetic way of teaching and learning, definitely. Whereas I think Kodai is a lot of aural learning, and ORF is a lot of, what's the other one? Visual. Yeah, it's a lot of visual. Obviously, they incorporate all three. All of them do. But I think all of those incorporate those the most, and I think they have a lot of those great qualities.
Yeah, definitely. Carl Orff's ideas were really, good ideas, too. So I would probably, in my classroom, would personally use Dalcroze and Orff more than I would probably use Kodai. I do like in Kodai, though, that he has the movable do, because I don't believe in teaching fixed do to young children. I feel like it can confuse them.
I think fixed do is a flawed system for any musician, because having to switch up and having to learn more things. Movable do is you have to learn 7 syllables compared to having to learn 12?
Yeah.
Because of all those intervals. It's really confusing, especially even for older musicians, not even younger ones.
I could barely do fixed do, so can't imagine that kids could not do it.
Also, it's easy. I like movable do because it's easy to transpose songs. So if the song doesn't work on a child's range, you can put it in a different one, and it's the same solfege syllables, and they might not even notice that you switched the key, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, definitely. All right. When you were in elementary school, do you recall your teacher incorporating all of the methods at once, or just one or two, or just one at a time per lesson?
I remember a lot of Delcrozian things being used. We did a lot of movement activities as a kid. A lot of them. But one of the activities I remember primarily was actually, I believe, a Kodai method, where she would sing a song. It was Down by the Bay, so she'd play her guitar and go, down by the bay, down by the... And we'd call in response, but at the end, you see something at the bay. And I have this distinct memory of this kid wanting to talk about Shrek, because he loves Shrek.
Yeah.
So we were coming up with rhymes for Shrek, and we came up with, have you ever seen Shrek sitting on the deck down by the bay? So I would say that was a Kodai method, because it was a lot of singing. And what do you think? Well, how would you classify that activity?
Which one? I'm sorry.
The one with Shrek on the deck.
Shrek on the deck. Okay. I would say for that Dalcroze probably, just because you have the freedom to think creatively about what you were singing.
Yeah, the improv.
The improv
I think
about that.
Very important part of Delcrozian study is
definitely
kids being able to learn and explore, because that's sometimes the best way is how you learn is by figuring out yourself instead of being told directly.
Yeah, and they have their freedom, so the teacher gives them something, and they have to either improvise it, they could create it, and it just opens up a new world to new sounds and new movements they can do with their bodies, and I think it's really awesome that they can do that.
Exactly, and I think it's important that kids need to hear things the way that they hear them instead of us telling them.
Yeah.
That here's how this sounds. I think it's more beneficial for them to hear it in their head.
Yeah, I think the less the teacher is involved with what the students are doing, I feel the more they'll have the confidence to be able to make decisions about like music as they get older. I feel like it doesn't limit them to what they can think.
Because the teacher is the least important person in the room.
Yes, exactly. Definitely. Speaking of creativity and students being able to improvise things, mnemonics.
Oh,
totally
mnemonics!
Fun, awesome thing. I really liked what the Fantastic Five did the other day, actually, with the Do You Know the Muffin Man? That was so fun. I really enjoyed that. Everyone else thought of Shrek, though, except for my group. We did not. I didn't even think to associate Shrek with the Muffin Man.
It's all because of that scene he goes,
Do you know the Muffin Man
Yeah.
who lives on Cherry Lane?
I've actually only seen Shrek once, and that was this past summer, so...
Anyways, with
behind.
Shrek with the mnemonics, I really liked that idea because we came up with the mnemonics first and then we applied to the music.
Yeah.
So we weren't even thinking of music when we were creating the mnemonics.
No.
So it really helped our association, and I really enjoyed that activity, especially seeing how everybody's activities were so different, especially
Yeah.
your group with the creepy muffin, and ours
Yeah.
was fluffy, pumpkin cheesecake, and all these like flavors, and seeing like different interpretations of it was
Yeah.
really neat.
Ours was a little on the darker side than everyone else, but...
I think it's important though because every kid thinks of something different. So
yeah.
some kids might go down more of a creepy Tim Burton-esque route, and some
Yeah.
kids might think of flavors, and some kids might have words that you wouldn't even think associate with muffin, but do because that's how it makes sense in their brain. I think that's really neat.
Everybody had like a muffin flavor, though. That was one thing that I thought was really funny, but each of us had a different flavor.
They're all very distinctly different flavors.
Yeah,
too.
they were. Like pumpkin cheesecake, I think, was the one that you did.
Absolutely.
That was pretty good. Like, I think it really helps the students, like, if we're doing that in like a classroom full of kids, it helps them like develop like having a sense of symbolic association with what they're like, what kind of song they're learning in class.
And also help it associate to their life because
Yeah.
they're going to better understand it if it's associated to them instead of something you tell them.
Yeah, definitely. And I also wanted to actually mention, speaking of their lesson that they did the other day, the solfege syllables, how they had us learn the song and they had us learn the solfege syllables before, and then they taught us the song after. I think that's a great way for the kids to be able to retain what the pitches are supposed to sound like while they're singing it.
Yeah, I think that if I was teaching it in a real life classroom setting,
Yeah.
I would introduce solfege a few weeks before.
Yeah,
And I'd keep
definitely.
on slowly incorporating it until we eventually built up to a song.
Yeah.
Because the advantage is we knew solfege, but I think that going into it could have been a little scary, but I think it was handled well because we're college students, we've all
Yeah.
done solfege.
Yeah, we're all musical.
But I love solfege, again, going back to Kodai and Movable
Yeah.
though. I think it's absolutely brilliant. It's not about the words, it's about the pitches and the spaces in between, which I think is really important for kids. Because
Yeah.
you don't have to go, this is a minor second. You can just say do, re.
Yeah.
And no matter what your key in, it's the same amount of distance. And
Yeah.
that's why solfege is absolutely brilliant.
Yes, it is. I agree with that. So also the other day in class, I liked how they incorporated Phyllis Weichert's four-step process. So, like, yeah, so they had us, okay. Yeah, so it was when we went over, like, the sequence by saying the steps out loud, and then we said the steps out loud, and we did the movement that we did.
Yes.
Then we did it quietly, and then we did it thinking about the movements, and the last time we did it, they let us add in whatever movements we want to. And I feel like that was a lot of fun because, like, you do it with folk music, but you can find folk music from any country in the world.
It doesn't even have to be
Yeah.
folk music.
Yeah.
You could be dancing to a Japanese pop song. You could be
Yeah.
dancing to an
You
American
can use
pop song.
anything.
It's as long as it has a clear established beat and you are clear with what you want, you can do it with any song.
Yeah.
I remember seeing an ORF activity where it was a dance and they applied it to this one specific song, and it's this very complicated dance where it's like there's two circles and they're moving in different directions, you have partners.
Yeah.
And it's used to a very specific song, but really there's no reason why you can't use any other song. And I think that's another great thing about these methods is that the more universal, the better.
Yeah,
That we can
definitely.
apply them to different musics, different
You can apply
cultures,
to
different
anything.
styles. Then we have more diverse learners. They're learning from different types
Yeah.
of music to make them the best musicians they can be.
Yeah, and it's a very straightforward, like, type of way to teach, so it'll be easier for the kids to understand, and...
I remember I thought that was so much fun. I got to dance and explore with all my friends, and everybody had a big smile on their face, and it was just such a great time.
Yeah. I see in class that you really channel your inner creativity. Like, you always have, like, such fun and outgoing energy. And,
I try to.
I love it. I'm always here for it.
I try to embody the child. Because I want to have as much fun as the kids do, but I not as much fun. I want them to have the most fun, but I want to have fun by experiencing what they're doing. Yeah. I want to have fun. I want to do the activities, too. So when I plan activities, I want to have fun. When I'm doing activities, I want to also have the fun. Yeah,
and it's cool because you said you were a kinesthetic learner. I also see myself more as a kinesthetic learner. Mm-hmm. Like, so from reading the textbook, I understand what we're learning in class a lot easier by doing, like, the stuff in class than just reading the book.
Yeah, me being a kinesthetic learner is a thing I realized in the last year, and it's really helped with my music because I learned when I'm doing my warm-ups and stuff for my voice, I have to move, I have to express, I have to move my body to emulate what's happening in my voice, and learn about myself has made me a better learner. So if we can give that to our children as soon as we can and incorporate as many methods and as many ways for children to learn their best, then I say we should do it.
Yeah, I think so too. So is elementary school something that you would consider teaching, or is that something you mainly want to teach, or you want to teach upper levels?
At this point in my life, I'm aiming to teach elementary school and possibly even middle school because I love those foundations and building them and making sure they're concrete and set.
Yeah, definitely.
And you just get to do so many fun activities with them, and I'm really looking forward to doing that with children. And I love working with elementary schoolers. I think they're so much fun. They're so creative, and it's just amazing. Yeah, and it's amazing in class to see all the different things that people come up with. Like, before I took this class, I never really considered teaching elementary school. I was always like, I want to teach high school. But now it's like, kind of changed my mind a little bit. I'm kind of like, I kind of would love to teach kids because I feel like you can have so much fun with getting to know the way that kids think, and they all think so differently. That's what's really amazing about it, is watching everybody, even in our class, just think differently. I love that. I do too. And it's great because when you're teaching when you're teaching music, it's so ambiguous, like, when it comes to teaching it. So, like, you don't have, like, a singular strict way to teach it. Like, math, like, there's, like, a strict way you have to teach math, and there's always a right answer. And you always have to keep up with the changing curriculum, but I feel like in music, the curriculum might be changing, like, through technology and stuff, but you can always still teach traditional ways of, like, teaching music. So you don't always have to keep up with the technology and stuff. Like, it's good to, but, like, you don't have to, and you can think of it your own way. Like, you can always, you have to teach them what a quarter note is, but there's a billion different ways you can do it. There's so many different ways. And you could do it 10 different ways in 10 different years. Yeah. Music is always a changing and evolving field, which is really amazing and beautiful. And it's great. And every single teacher has a different way to teach the students, too. Absolutely. It's incredible. And what really, like, is most effective, like, in how, like, children understand what you're teaching, you can get the point across to them, like, anyway. You could use either one of the methods, you could use two of them, you could use all three, and it's just great. And with changing technology and stuff, there's been, like, a lot of modifications to how music is taught in some schools. Like, districts with more money have higher technology than, like, districts that don't really have enough money. And, like, companies like Yamaha give students, like, computerized keyboards. When I was in middle school general music, we had, like, the Macs, like, the monitors, and we had the keyboards, and we played them, and, like, the music would, like, show up on, like, the keyboards of what we were playing. Yeah, it was really cool. I don't know, I just thought it was pretty cool learning through technology, too. So you can teach whatever way you'd like to. But, yeah. Well, that looks like it is just about time for the end of our podcast. Thank you for listening, and thank you for coming on for today, Collin. It was great to have you here. Thank you for having me. I had a great time. You're welcome. I'm glad. All right, that is all. Goodbye. Bye.